The Championship is absolutely wide open heading into this second international break of the season, but are Coventry starting to emerge as a bit of an early favourite for the league? That's what we're going to be looking at in today's video, taking a look at the top of the division, the sides who have started really well, and discussing those sides who we still think will be up and amongst the promotion mix come the end of the season. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments down below. I personally have really enjoyed this season so far, probably helped by the fact that North End have started out so strongly, but there's definitely still that sense in the league that week to week anyone can beat anyone. But come May, who will it be being promoted to the Premier League? That's what we're going to be taking a closer look at in today's video. So as things stand and heading into this second international break of the season, this is what the current Championship table is looking like. Obviously, the vast majority of sides have played 9 matches. It's only Ipswich and Blackburn on 8 games after that game at Ewood Park was controversially abandoned in the 80th minute. That game will be replayed later in the season. But as things stand, it's Coventry leading the way with 19 points, now the only side unbeaten in the Championship. We'll be speaking about them quite a lot in today's video. Making up it in second, we've got Borough, only with 1 loss so far. That came just before the international break away at Portsmouth. Then with the rest of the top 6 being made up of Leicester, Preston, Stoke and Queen's Park Rangers. What I do love about the rest of this league at the moment is just how congested it is in the middle. Listen, you're always likely to get this at the start of the season, but even as we go past January into the tail end of the season, I still expect this region of the table to be really congested. Like, as things stand, we've only got 3 points separating Southampton in 17th and West Brom in 7th. It just shows that any team in this region of the table, if you put a good run together coming out of this international break, you will absolutely fly up the league. Like, putting back-to-back wins together in a league as competitive as the Championship is no easy feat, and anyone that does it, even Sheffield United at the bottom of the table, you're going to go flying up the table. But let's start out with Coventry, because it does feel like they are, or have been, the outstanding team in the league up until this point. Not just in terms of points on the board, but in terms of performances, the eye test, their underlying stats as well, which we'll take a closer look at in today's video. Now, I am a big believer that the teams that tend to create the most chances per 90 give themselves the best opportunity of finishing in the top 6 come the end of the season. Now, of course, there are exceptions to this rule. You need to be good defensively as well, but generally speaking, the teams who are good at getting into goal-scoring positions in the final third tend to be up there come the end of the season, and this is just an area where Coventry are absolutely blowing the rest of the league out of the water right now. In their first 9 matches, they've accumulated an XG of 22.2. The closest team to them at the moment is Southampton, who are with 14.4 in second place. That is an absolutely monumental gap between first and second place. Now, context needs to be taken into consideration, as we are only 9 games into this season. It is still a fairly small sample size, and obviously some teams will have had an easier fixture run than others. However, in the case of Coventry, and especially assessing their time under Frank Lampard so far, this has been quite a long-term thing that they've been building towards. Even going back prior to Lampard in the Mark Robins days, and how this Coventry squad has gradually been built up thanks to the great sales that they've made in recent years. You know, the big profits they made on selling the likes of Victor Gyökeres, Gustavo Hamer, others amongst the years. That's allowed them to really spend heavily and invest into the spine of that team, which right now is just looking so good, both in terms of the starting 11 and options they've got off the bench. You could go through virtually any of these attacking metrics and Coventry will be top of the chart right now in terms of goals scored, they're top, shots, they're top, shots on target, they're top, XG, they blow everyone else out the water right now, non-penalty XG as well, they're clear of everyone else in the Championship. Underlying data can only tell you so much, but when coupled with what we're seeing on the pitch at the moment and the eye test from watching Coventry week to week, and don't get me wrong, they don't always get everything going their own way. They've run into a few brick walls this season where they've been forced to settle for a draw. But like I was saying before, over the course of a full season, when on average you're creating an XG of 2.47 per 90, you're going to win more matches than you're going to lose. And it just feels like, for me at this moment in time, Coventry are the team to beat in the league, especially when you consider how slowly a lot of the other promotion contenders that we were all considering at the start of the season, how slowly some of those sides have started this season. Now, what you will find interesting about this XG table is that the team currently second in the Championship, Middlesbrough, is all the way down in 23rd place. They've actually only created an XG of 8.6 in their opening 9 matches, and I think we can read a little bit into that. First of all, I think it is realistic to expect a bit of a drop-off from Middlesbrough at some stage because they're not consistently creating high enough chances to carry on winning matches at the rate that they have been doing so far this season. Like in terms of their per 90 stats, XG of 0.96 per 90, that's not great. You know, only Derby have been worse than that so far this season. But context is absolutely key to take into these sorts of stats. First things first, they've been the second most clinical side in the league so far this season in terms of their XG over performance. So Borough have been scoring goals where stereotypically they're scoring from low value opportunities, which may suggest that that's not a sustainable way to go forward and that their goals will dry up at some stage. Maybe that was evidenced a little bit before the international break when they lost against Pompey. But what I think a lot of people will point towards for Middlesbrough and why they've been so tough to beat this season is because of their defensive record, and this is where they are the best team in the Championship in terms of limiting the opposition to few chances, few high quality chances against them. No team has been better than Borough in that department so far this season, only conceding an XG of 7.2. So I think it's absolutely fascinating that we've got the current top 2 in the Championship as the best attacking side in the league and the best defensive side in the league. And arguably, that was evidenced a little bit in last season's promotion race as well, where we had Leeds as the outstanding attacking side in the league and Burnley as the outstanding defensive side in the league. And in the end, they both obviously finished in the top 2, each with 100 points. There's no doubt that Middlesbrough's success so far this season has been built upon that defensive solidity. 6 goals conceded after 9 matches is an absolutely brilliant return. And the fact they've only conceded 6 goals so far isn't a case of them having, you know, an exceptional goalkeeper, I'd say, who's pulling off worldy saves week in, week out. It's because they're a good regimented system that aren't giving up high quality chances to the opposition, and long term I think that's a really good thing to have going for you, albeit there is still that balance to strike with Middlesbrough between attacking creativity and defensive solidity, and how that will unpan over a full season I think will be really interesting to see. I think you can definitely make the argument under Michael Carrick at times Borough probably skewed a little bit too far in the opposite direction, where chance creation they were really good but they were just far too easy to get at defensively, and it feels like Edwards has really cracked down on that so far this season. What I also think is interesting though, looking at some of these numbers, is how highly Southampton feature. I think this is a positive trend to take for them going forward. It has been quite a frustrating start for them, just 2 wins from their first 9 matches, but just in terms of the basic stats, in terms of chance creation, they are getting into the right areas. What's really killed Southampton so far this season is them being one of the most wasteful sides in the league. They've underperformed their XG by 3.4 goals. That would point to a lack of quality in the final third rather than maybe lack of chance creation. Speaking of being wasteful in the final third, that's also been a real issue for Birmingham and Sheffield United, 2 other sides who a lot of people were tipping to be in and amongst this promotion race at the start of the season. Listen, Sheffield United's issues have been well documented. Along with being one of the worst sides in the league for creativity, they've also been the most wasteful side in the league. So couple those 2 stats together, you're walking into an absolute nightmare scenario, and that's what Chris Wilder sort of has to do at the moment. For Birmingham, I think there arguably have been some similarities between them and Borough so far. Like in terms of chance creation, Birmingham and Borough aren't a million miles away from each other, but it's just been how wasteful Blues have been in the final third. But like I was saying before, like Middlesbrough, Birmingham have been one of the best sides in the league so far this season defensively, where they don't tend to give up that many high quality chances to the opposition, having only conceded an XG of 8.7 so far this season. Being a good defensive side like that will lead to you being tough to beat, tough to break down, albeit it's no surprise that they've been fairly draw heavy so far this season because they've not always had that killer instinct in the final third. I do also think, looking at a lot of these underlying stats, it's easy to see why Ipswich maybe are still the bookies' favourites at this point in time for the Championship title. In terms of the XG numbers, they have still been one of the top sides in the division, and in terms of the chances they're facing at the moment, they're only marginally behind Middlesbrough as the second best team in the league in that department. Listen, it was a bit of a slow start to the campaign for Kieran McKenna's side. It's taken them 4 or 5 matches to really get going, and even right now away from home, I still don't think we've seen a fully cohesive performance from them as of yet. But as was evidenced by the East Anglian derby just before the international break, we saw them absolutely playing Sheffield United off the park and putting 5 goals past them at home as well. Portman Road will be a tough place to go this season, and just in terms of squad quality, I think a lot of people would still have Ipswich as part of their top 2 prediction come the end of the season, and the underlying stats back that up. A team who could still potentially maybe be going a little bit under the radar is Watford, just because of their squad quality, and interestingly, their underlying numbers haven't been too bad so far this season, but they have decided to make that change with Paulo Pezzolano, who never seemed to really take with the fan base or the squad in general. It's felt so far this season to me, looking from the outside looking in, that Watford have been a team that have played well in patches but have never had that fully cohesive nature about them over a full 90 minutes. But taking the dig into some of their underlying numbers so far this season, they've been the 5th best team in the league in terms of chance creation. They've also been a top half side in the Championship in terms of XG faced as well. Couple that with the individual quality that they've got in that squad, if replacing the manager does have the desired effect, who knows? Watford have always been a bit of a basket case club, and you never know what to expect from them week to week. But despite having a manager there who no one at the club has particularly been sold on, underlying numbers and the quality in the squad would still suggest that they could have something to say about this promotion battle come the end of the season. Some of the teams that really intrigue me at the moment are your likes of Wrexham, your Norwiches, your Hull Cities, who attacking metrics have been amongst the best in the league. But then you flip that towards the defensive metrics and they've been amongst the worst teams in the league. So these are the sorts of clubs that still have that balance to strike, in my opinion, between attack and defence. And then sort of in the middle of both of those categories, you've got a lot of the teams who have been really quite solid in both departments so far. So in those examples, I'm talking about the likes of Preston North End, Stoke City. You could throw QPR into that equation. Definitely West Brom, Millwall. Teams who, maybe with the exception of West Brom, not too many people were really particularly fancying at the start of the season, but have all equally started out this campaign really well. And when you have that positive momentum to build upon, which I think is apparent with all those clubs we've just mentioned there is absolutely every chance that, I think especially come the next international break, which is in November, if all those sides are still mixing it in and around the top 6, they absolutely have to be taken seriously. One of the sides that have been a bit of a tough one to put your finger on so far this season is Leicester, because a lot of their underlying numbers have been fairly average so far. In terms of XG, Leicester have been a bottom half team in the league. In terms of the chances they've faced in the league so far this season, they've also been a bottom half team. It's just been the fact that Solasic has been so good at points of the campaign that they've conceded so few goals. That data and the fact that Leicester are currently sat 3rd in the Championship right now would suggest that this season so far has been a bit of an overperformance from them. Coupled with the fact that we still don't yet know what's going to happen with that point deduction, I think is why a lot of people are still a little bit unsure on the Foxes at this point in time. But you could easily flip that narrative on its head as well and make the argument that Leicester are really yet to get going. That's certainly been my impression of them so far. And yet they're sat 3rd in the Championship with 16 points after 9 matches. What I do find interesting though is this is the Championship table of the calendar year of 2025. And I mean, you can see the continuity with Coventry here. So no team in the Championship in 2025 have picked up more points than the Sky Blues. Obviously, they have played more matches than your Burnleys and Leeds, who were promoted to the Premier League. Frank Lampard's side have picked up 60 points from their last 31 matches in the Championship, averaging just shy of 2 points per game. Like, this start to the season from Cov is not a flash in the pan, and everything we've discussed in today's video so far, it's just making me more and more convinced about them. But I'd be interested to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. This video was probably a bit of a ramble about what I've made of a lot of these teams so far this season, but striking the balance between attack and defence is going to be key to being promoted this season, and it feels like Coventry have the best balance of that of any side in the division right now. Ipswich, I think, are coming. I think they are coming for one of those top 2 spots as well. I really do. 3 wins from their last 4. There feels like they're starting to click into gear now. A lot of their summer signings looking a lot more settled than they were a few weeks ago as well. So yeah, guys, do drop your thoughts in the comments down below. What have you made of the top performing sides in the Championship so far this season? Who is going to be up there for you come the end of the campaign, and who could still be a surprise package, maybe emerging from any team in the bottom half of the table who you think definitely will have something to say about this promotion mix come the end of the season? Guys, that will wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you did go on to enjoy, make sure to drop a like. But other than that, I'll see you all in the next one.